Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This is the fourth episode of my InfoSec Foundation series, and today we will talk about information security governance. To better understand the role of information security and its objectives, we will talk about the relationship between the business and information security, but also how information security should be managed. If you are new to the channel, my name is Saif, and I'm a information security professional based in the US, and I share my experience in information security, technology, and productivity. Before we get into the main topic, let's step back and summarize what we have been talking on the previous episodes. We talk about the CIA triad. The CIA triad, or the cornerstone of information security, summarize the goal of information security, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality prevents unauthorized access. Integrity makes sure only authorized users can change the data and only authorized changes can happen. Availability is making sure that the data is always available for the authorized users. We talk about subjects and objects. Subjects are the active elements, like a user accessing the data, and objects are the passive elements, like the data that the user is interacting with. We talk about non-repudiation, where a user cannot deny having performed an action. We talk about defense in depth, because the threats are getting more complex and they are increasing every day. You cannot have one single control that can protect your organization from everything. For that, you need specific controls for specific types of threats. This way, if a control fails, another can compensate for it. The final concept to call back is AAA, that stands for identification, authentication, authorization, auditing, and accountability or accounting. Identification, where you claim to be somebody or you enter, for example, a username. Then on the authentication phase, you can present a photo ID or enter the password for the username you are claiming to own. And then authorization, that happens in the backend and will give you privileges on the system you are trying to access in or the data you are trying to modify or read based on your profile, roles, and responsibilities. The auditing will make sure all the events are recorded that can be used later to prove what somebody did in the accountability phase. Two new key terms we will introduce: due care and due diligence. Due care is taking actions to protect the organization. Due diligence is making sure that the actions to secure an organization are performed. Let's switch gear and talk about an important concept, which is the types of security controls, just before we get into the main topic for today. There are three main types of security control. Preventive controls to make sure that unwanted event won't happen. Then we have detective controls that detects when a certain type or abnormal unwanted events happen. Corrective security controls make sure that the system can go back to normal. Are you focused? Because now we will get into the main topic. We will talk about the reason behind information security and where it sits within a business. The ultimate role of an information security organization is to enable the business to take risk, which means managing the risk in a way that the business can do more, can take more action to grow, to make more profit without impacting the organization. So how information security will integrate with the business? Information security must be aligned with the business goals, strategies, mission, and objectives, but at the same time, it needs the support of the senior management and the freedom to act as a separate entity. Information security should not be part of IT. Cybersecurity can achieve that goal of enabling the business and staying aligned with it by having plans at all levels, at the strategic, tactical, and operational level. The strategic plan, or the long-term and stable plan, will help the organization define its security goals. Then you have the tactical plan. The tactical plan is a midterm plan. It provides the details on how to achieve the strategic plan. An example of tactical plans are project management plans or hiring plans. The operational plan is a short-term plan. It could be a monthly or quarterly plan that has all the details that help achieve the tactical and strategic plans. For example, managing the day-to-day cybersecurity operations. Now let's talk about security governance. The first thing you need to understand is that security is an organizational process. It's not just some layers of technology you implement to protect the organization. Security needs to be governed across all the organization and has the senior leadership support. Security governance is about supporting, defining, and directing the security efforts of an organization. It's like making sure we are doing our due care and due diligence to protect the organization. This is a callback to the two new terms we reviewed earlier. It's making sure that the controls we put in place are performing as expected to meet the organization's security objective. Security governance can then be achieved through policies, standards, procedures, and guidelines. The difference between these four is that the policies are the high-level objectives, then the standards contain the technical details and technical requirements. Then last, you have guidelines. Guidelines are best practices. Another difference between these four is that compliance with all of them is mandatory within our organization, except for the guidelines. They are nice to have or recommended. Companies don't need to create their best practices or procedures from scratch all the time. That's why we have frameworks. The frameworks are created by a group of professionals and summarize the best practices around the world in specific areas. A good source of standards and best practices are the ISO 271 by the International Standardization Organization, and it dictates how to implement effectively an information security management system within an organization. You have NIST 800 by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. For example, the 800-35 shows you how to implement technology, and it specifically helps you select the security controls that you need to implement as part of your risk management process. Your risk management, yes, that's a new keyword. That will be the topic of the next video, so stay tuned for it. COBIT, or Control Objective for Information and Related Technologies, help you define the IT processes and how to measure their effectiveness. Next is security compliance and regulations. Organizations need to be compliant with a variety of laws and regulations. These are dictated by the governments and the industry organizations. Some examples of that are criminal, civil, or administrative laws and regulations. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave a comment. See you next week. We will talk about, you already forgot, risk management. Cheers.